Here, my computer's, there we go. We're going to call the meeting to order. And we'll start with roll call. Mr. Genowine? Here. Mr. Haddad?
Here.
Mr. Simcoe? Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Oh, Mr. Mahoney! Welcome, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you.
He's too big to mess in that big guy. Welcome.
Welcome, Neil, our new appointee to the board. After a long interview session last week, we ended up picking Neil. So he's our new trustee. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Did we turn it on?
Well, I'm out. I've been sick all week.
And next we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next thing, I think, John Zeitler, is Susan mentioned that Fred is here for a presentation by Chief Jeff Kowalski.
Right.
And so maybe we'll take that at this point.
Sure. Chief?
Good evening. Take it out of the wrapper, Fred. This is fresh from the Lieutenant. If I could have Lieutenant Fred Chaya and his wife Teddy Chaya come to the front, because Teddy was part of this whole thing too for many years. Right here, Fred. Teddy, how you doing? Good, good. Lieutenant Fred Chaya began his career as a volunteer in 1968 and was hired as a full-time firefighter and EMT in 1963. Lieutenant Chaya has the distinction of being one of the original 10 firefighters, full-time firefighters, hired to start our department. Lieutenant Chaya, on a personal note, was my first lieutenant, my first officer when I was hired in 1978, and he taught me many things, and also other recruits, not only just the importance of being prepared to go to a fire or an emergency, but he also instilled upon us the pride, dedication, and courage that it takes to become a firefighter. Lieutenant Chaya has served this department in the community for more than 42 years, and I am proud to say that there are many people alive today because of him, and there are many buildings still standing also. It is with great pleasure and pride I present him with this plaque for his 42 years of service. Congratulations. Go ahead if you like, sir.
And it's dangerous when you put me up in front of a microphone. Thanks, Chief. Actually, this time has gone awfully quick. It's been my pleasure to be able to serve the community of Sylvania. Being a kid who grew up in Sylvania, always lived in Sylvania, and always worked in Sylvania my whole entire adult life. I've been a firefighter. I have to admit that I'm going to miss what's going on. Watching the news the other night, my shift had a fire on McCord Road, and I truly missed it, not being there with the guys supporting them and going out. But well, I have to go sometime, and now is my time, and I'd just like to thank all the people, the present trustees and past trustees and city fathers who allowed me to serve you. Thank you.
Should we take a break a minute and have some pictures taken? The trustees would come down and right up. Brad and Ryan.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I close the gap, sir.
You guys want it?
Yeah.
Half a meal.
You don't have to back up. One more. We're good. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Next item is the election of the chairman and vice chairman, if there's any discussion on that, or we can always table that.
I move that we push that back 30 days for some more discussion.
Is there a second?
Second. I'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
No.
Next item is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the regular meeting, January 18th, and the minutes of the special meeting, January 25th.
I move to approve the minutes as read.
I'll second that.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Abstain?
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Passed.
Next item on the agenda is the zoning department. Nothing? Okay, we have nothing from the zoning department.
That was quick.
This is the Public Works Monthly Report.
Good afternoon. The monthly report for January 2001 has been submitted for your review. Just a few highlights. The brush and holiday tree pickup, we completed the first cycle, started the second cycle on January 24th, and we probably would have completed that had it not been for the recent snowstorms. Other than that, it's been salt brine operations, and we started in removing some Bradford pear trees and that from the Carytown East subdivision. They requested 54 of their trees removed, and they're all on the right-of-way. It's a certain type of tree. It really never should have been planted there. It turns brittle, and it grows a black berry of some type, and it just dirties up everything. So we are removing those trees. And a couple other requests over in the St. James subdivision. I'll just say January was an expensive month as far as salt usage. This is probably our major storm that we're going to have tonight, but in January, we must have had snowstorms or snowfall, every 4 days or so. But other than that, on the monthly report, I highlighted some areas of interest, mainly the website upgrades reflecting the 2012 schedule for brush pickups and residential large item pickup. And let's see, we've had City of Sylvania, item number 11 down at the bottom. City of Sylvania announced a water line project on Little Road in Centennial, and I say that because it'll come through the township area and connect in a fossil park off of Centennial Road. So, pending your questions, that's all I have for the board.
I have one question about the holiday trees pickup. Are we going to be picking them up next year since we went to the new thing with clean wood, or are they going to be on their own to take them and recycle it?
Mr. Haddad, I think we need to discuss that.
Okay.
It is an expensive service to provide. So possibly with the economic headwinds approaching, we should talk about that.
Okay, we can get together afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to have Greg and the chief talk about preparations that the township is making for the storm tonight. Greg has something, then the chief will talk about the fire.
Regarding the snowstorm, we called crews in at 1 a.m. this morning. Those crews work throughout the day, and they're leaving here just at 4 o'clock. That same crew will be back in at midnight, and that's when we will start our 12 on, 12 off. So we'll operate 5 snow plows continuous, 12 on, 12 off, until the storm passes. We need about 12 hours after the storm for a complete cleanup, satisfactory cleanup, especially on the curb streets, so that the mail can be delivered, things along that nature. And depending on the snowfall, I've heard various reports, but it's just a good night to run a movie.
Well, from the last report I heard, if it's 5 miles north, we get 8 inches. If it's 5 miles south, we get 20 inches. So we'll stick with the 12 and hopefully that'll be good enough.
So, I believe Fire Chief has something also to add.
We're supposed to get 12 inches if it goes on track. If it goes south of us, we'll get 20 inches. If it goes north of us, we'll get more sleet, so it'll be less, it'll be about 8 inches.
Last report I heard.
I attended a briefing this afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Emergency Operations Center downtown at the 911 building. They had a conference call set up with Cleveland Center for emergency operations. They were predicting that the ice and the storm that was first predicted, that we are not going to get as much ice as they had anticipated, which is good. We'll get about a 1/4 inch of ice they're predicting for this area. Most of the ice, up to 1/2 inch, is going to go south of us, south of Bowling Green. They're going to have a harder time of it. They're predicting about 8 to 10 inches tonight, starting around midnight, and after 7 o'clock, excuse me, and at midnight we'll start the heavy stuff. Will start falling, and then continue on through the morning. They're predicting that around the morning, around 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock, we'll have a lull in the action till about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, which we'll see another front come through with a couple inches additional. At that time, we'll have 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts and sub-zero temperatures. So the good thing, I guess, if you want to call it a good thing, is we're not going to get as much ice. The bad thing is it's going to be all snow. At this time, they're not going to open up the Emergency Operations Center downtown, but there'll be staff with 3 individuals. There'll be a member of the Toledo Fire Division, a member of the Toledo Police Department, and the Sheriff's Department that will be downtown. And I have a phone number for them that I can get in touch with them and get updates on an hourly basis if needed. The American Red Cross is also at this meeting. They are going to go ahead and open up, they're not going to call them shelters, they're going to call them evacuation sites. They are going to open up centers around the area. The primary centers, and for us in this area, are going to be Flower Hospital. Flower Hospital has agreed to take people in off the expressway, which we're anticipating if they close the expressways tonight. OSP will take care of getting the people off the expressways into a respite center or evacuation center. St. Luke's will also be another hospital that will be open. They have contact with the schools in all the areas, and they can open up the schools also in case the overflow happens. First Energy has extra crews that they've already brought in, have outfitted their trucks, and they can pull additional crews from outside. They have no crews actively involved right now in putting any extra lines up or anything, or any storm damage repairs. Everybody is ready to go. The sheriff wants to send out a consistent message throughout the whole Lucas County, and if it comes to a level 2 or a level 3 snow emergency, he will go ahead and put that out on the news media, and it will be announced over the regular channels that you would normally see on the news, television, and radio stations. That's about all I have as far as that goes. I will have a PowerPoint available. They weren't able to get it to me before the meeting, but they'll send me the PowerPoint that they showed us at the Emergency Operations Center, and I will see that all of you get it and get on the mailing address for that, so you have a copy of what we saw this afternoon. The storm is just, it's a little iffy going north.
That's in Providence right now.
Is it? It's a little iffy going north and south, and the winds and all that. It's not an exact science, they say, but that's what they predicted, is we'll have more of a snow event than we will a rain or a ice event. So we have hired one additional crew that we have both mini pumpers in service ready to go, in case we have have difficulties getting down streets for EMS runs, so both of our mini pumpers are at the stations and outfitted and ready to go. I also have contact of 2 individuals on our department that are able to dispatch. I've had the training to dispatch in case our dispatch center gets inundated with calls. All dispatch has to do is call me, and I'll have that person or persons, whatever they need, to come in and help dispatch out. So and the crews are ready to go. Any questions?
We're under a level 1 snow emergency from...
Right now, we're on a level 1. What the cities are going to be doing is they're going to be announcing a no parking, a snow emergency no parking, versus the level 1, level 2, and level 3 snow emergency. Level 3 is just people, EMS people and rescue people are allowed to be on the street, fire, police, and EMS, doctors, nurses, and things like that. Everyone else will be kept off the streets. And you'll be ticketed if you're picked up.
Well, good luck. I know with the cold temperatures brings space heaters and things, and so hopefully you guys won't be busy, but I would think you'll be hopping the next couple of days.
It'll be interesting,
yes,
to say the least. Thank you.
Chief Owen, do you have anything to report this time?
No, just that we're ready to go. We've got 8 4x4 SUVs that will, as the snow gets deeper, if we need to, we'll put our patrol in those vehicles so that they can get the call and such.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the administrator, and I have 2 resolutions. My first resolution is establishing the mileage vehicle rate. This is the rate that the township will pay to people that use their own car for township work. The current rate with the IRS is 51 cents a mile.
I make a motion to pass resolution number 11-022, establish vehicle mileage rate according to the IRS.
Second?
Is it changing from last year?
It's 1 cent higher now.
I think it was 50. It was 50 cents last year.
Now it's 51 because of the fuel cost.
Okay.
And one of the things, the reason we tie it to the IRS rate, because that can change during the year.
Which is better because if it goes up, because fuel's supposed to go $4 now.
Yeah.
Scare me, guys.
Call the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
My next resolution is the appointment of members to the Township Investment Committee. The committee is made up of the Township Administrator, the Director of Budget and Accounting, the Fiscal Officer, and 1 trustee. So,
Who's the trustee?
Well, that's...
One of us?
I don't have a problem.
I'll offer resolution 11-023, appoint members to the Investment Committee.
And the trustee being?
I don't know which trustee wants to do it.
I don't have a problem doing either.
You know, that reminds me, for some discussion, we're going to have to change some boards because they have to put me on a couple boards.
We talked about that earlier, Jim. You're just running it through a couple banks now, right?
Correct, and the meetings are about 5 to 10 minutes long.
Who do you want to have? Do you want to have John on there? Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
I don't care. Neil, if you want it?
I don't, whatever.
Mike, go ahead. Let's get Neil on it.
Want to amend your motion then?
Okay, so to be with the trustee being Neil Mahoney.
Kevin made the motion, and who seconded it?
No one did yet.
I did. I'll second it.
All right. Now it's second because we have the trustee in there.
Okay. And I'll call the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Next item, we have a couple, 4 resolutions under the Fiscal Officer, Jim.
Good afternoon. I have 4 resolutions I'd like to present. The first resolution is 11-017. This resolution is to increase the certificate of estimated resources. And basically, it's because of the internal service fund that was approved and is now in the system, and we are beginning to transfer money to that particular account or fund from the other major funds, and I need to increase that certificate of estimated resources.
Well, Neil, you're the financial investment.
I'll offer resolution number 11-17. I want to get out of here. It's gonna
Thanks, John.
To increase estimated resources certificate.
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Second resolution I have is Resolution 11-018. It's to increase the appropriation in two separate accounts. The first account being the Internal Service Fund. Now that we've transferred money into there, we want to be able to spend it and pay the dental claims. So we're going to have to increase that appropriation in that particular account. The second one is the Road and Bridge Water and Sewer Fund. And if you remember correctly, we added a new line for the brine system. And when we budgeted, we weren't aware that, that was going to be on that meter. And consequently, we didn't budget enough money in that particular line item. So it's going to be increase that by $1,500. And the other one is the total amount of $147,769 in the Internal Service Fund.
Before we go into that resolution, I have a real quick question for Greg. What's the cost of us drilling a well and using well water to do that with, without having to pay sewer rate at it? Because it's $4,000 to dig a deep well that we can, 40 feet deep in. We can use well water for brine, because what do we need purified water for brine? It'd be a much cheaper cost of the system and save the township a ton of money on the water rates.
Excuse me, I don't think we pay sewer rates on that line.
It says water and sewer right here.
Well, that's the account, but when the actual bill comes in from the city, we're not being charged the
Jim,
sewer.
$1,500 though, annually is gonna be a cost savings of, we'll save that in 2, maybe 3 years at the very most for the water if we drill a well for it. And not have to, we can probably appropriate that now, but I'd rather look into doing that and saving the money for the township totally, because if it's hooked up to a well with a pump, it's gonna save us a ton of money, because it could be right next door to that installed it for that. I mean, do you think that sounds reasonable to you too, or no?
Well, it's something we can look into, really.
That 1,500 is for the year or just for like the last quarter?
It's in the addition for the whole year.
Okay.
We've already budgeted some money, but it wasn't going to be enough, so, yeah.
I'll offer resolution 11-018, appropriating accounts for the self-insurance dental and the utilities.
I'll second.
Call the roll, Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Third resolution is 11-019. And this is to pay a then and now certificate to Delta Dental. This is the original bill when we set up the Internal Service Fund, and we had to make send some money or pay a bill so they could pay claims for self-insured. And this is to pay that then and now purchase certificate, because we created it after the original bill came in. So that's all we're doing here.
I'll offer resolution 11-019, for the payment of Delta Dental, $10,200 on a then and now certificate.
I'll second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Final resolution I have is 11-021. This is to transfer some funds. If you remember correctly, in the budgets, we've got some money going from the general fund to the road and bridge fund, and some money going to pay off the debt for the senior citizen. And this is merely transferring that money into those particular funds from the general fund, so when the bills come in, the cash is there to pay it.
Senior citizen.
Pardon me?
Senior citizen, you said?
The senior citizen debt, the bond issue that we...
Oh, for the senior center.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what senior citizens do we have that township?
Pay for them all.
Yeah. All right. Neil, you can offer that resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Resolution.
I'll offer resolution.
I'm sorry, resolution 11-021, transfer funds into the bridge fund, and then the transfer of funds into the senior account. Or
Into the debt fund.
Senior center, sorry.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this point in the agenda, we have open discussion. Is there any items that the trustees would like to discuss at this time?
I'm going to, real quick, I talked to Jim Shaw, we got a meeting Thursday after the storm's over with to talk about the garbage program that's going to be reviewed by the county. Because with county funds depleting, and after talking to a couple of the county commissioners, that sanitation is going to be a big issue for 2012. So I will bring that report to our next meeting and discuss that with us to see where we need to go and what direction. Because with the garbage program that we have reviewed in the past, it might be substantially cheaper to get our own system than to get into the county system. But I'll bring that report to give you a full description to the board.
Okay, and just for
I'll
reference,
be here, so if you're not here and we want to wait till you come back, I'll do it the first meeting in March so you can hear the report.
Okay, that'd be nice, yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
and just for reference, Jim Shaw is the county sanitary engineer and also director of the solid waste.
On a side note for that, I did try to take my recyclables to Kroger last night, and the county has stopped picking up those barrels there, or those receptacles, and so there's no room for cardboard, I know that. It's in the back of my car.
I know. It's going to be bad because from what I heard funding-wise, they're going to be cutting it out. And that's why,
Yeah.
that's the only reason I looked at the system. That's
It
the only
definitely
reason.
hasn't been picked up since the first
Yeah,
of the
they-
year, so
Right,
we should find some solutions.
The county ran out of money.
they are on that fund.
Any other items? At this point,
Anybody else?
Mr. Simcoe, did anybody sign the sheet to rest the trustees?
Yes, we have Mr. Al Hayes.
Nothing at this time.
That was all?
At this point, we'd like to go into executive session to discuss labor negotiations with the fire and the Teamsters. And Susan, is there anything else that,
We just had one thing. Did you have personnel on there? I thought we,
for personnel?
personnel, I
Yes.
believe, as well.
I make a motion to go into executive session at 4:28.
Second.
2 hours. No.
Calling the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
You want the rest of these? You want the rest of these, or just put out a sign?
Yeah, great.
All right.